technique to get some beautiful dimension in your balayage hair. What do you guys think? Hey. All right, so here's what I'm going to say. This toner, and it's interesting because here we are like in pretty great lighting, but this tends to look a lot less rosy than it really is in person. And I bring this up a little closer. Can you guys see the rosy tones to it? Okay, I curled one side, but I thought you guys might want to be able to see the beautiful blend on the other side as well, because here's the thing. This technique is going to give you both a smudge root, and it's also going to give you contrast through the middlings without being too much of a low light like Lori was talking about, because our balayage beauties want to stay light at their ends, right? So this technique is going to have you covered for that. Now, with that, I'm going to go ahead and swap my mannequins and share with you quickly my formulations. Now, side note, I know a lot of you guys have your mannequins, okay? You have your mannequins prepped, you've got color ready to go, and you're like, okay, I had all my stuff. And what I'd love for you to do is take the opportunity after we're done today and really commit to doing your mannequin just exactly like we do this technique. Do I have your commitment? If you have a mannequin, I understand not everybody has one. Give us a why. Okay, amazing. Because the more you practice, the better you're going to be at it. All right. So let's get right on in. And I'm going to share, I'm going to move my handle here, and I'm going to share it in two ways. One way is going to be on head form, and the other way I'm going to show you right on the mannequin, because it'll go by a little bit smoother once you see it on the head. So as you can see, kicking it old school, I've got like a hand-drawn mannequin form on here. And basically the idea is that most of your work is going to be done above the parietal ridge. The reason why we want to do it above the parietal ridge is because the top of the head is where the hair moves the most, okay? So this technique is going to involve like 4 to 6 foils tops, and it's really not meant to be something that takes you a long time. So if you find yourself taking tiny little sections, you are working too hard, okay? So it's literally just going to involve us taking our formula, covering the whole head with our first formula, which I'm going to post here in a second, and then afterwards going back with a second formula. The reason why is because we are going to be utilizing layering, okay? Layer the hair color on top of each other versus in the same bottle or in 2 separate processes even, because there's lots of different ways to vary the results while you're working. Now, in this technique, I'm utilizing putting one color on top of the other to dilute the second color. Now, hang tight with me here. What it's going to look like is you're going to apply your darker color on the zone 1. Then you're going to skip a section about 1 inch or 1.5 inches down, and then you're going to take a chunky weave and then apply that second color again on top of the first formula. So now I'm going to show you right on the head. Here's my first formula, okay? My first formula is 010 VV. 3/4 of the formula is that, with 1/4 violet kicker. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the kickers look really, really deep when you mix it in the bottle. In fact, don't let this frighten you, especially if they want to be blonde, because as you can see, our original, she's like a 7. Do you guys agree? She's like a nice soft tone, and she still has lightness, okay? So our first formula is 010 VV with the violet kicker. Now then our second formula we're going to lay right on top of that in specific areas only is 04 RV. Now, I don't know about y'all, but in the past, my blondes, if I tried to put a 04 on them, I'd have a little bit of like a panic moment. But know that 4, when laid on top of the 10, turns out more like a 7. Now, here's why. Think about a sponge, right? If you put a sponge in some water, it's going to absorb all that water. Now, if I were to then take that sponge out and put it in maybe a cup with water and food coloring and pull it back out, it's not going to look as dark as the water with the food coloring. And the reason why is it's so full of the first glass of water. If you're with me so far, put a Y in our chat column here. All right, cool. So here's what the technique looks like. In my first bottle with this formula, I used my typical, and I don't want to say typical, I want to say the traditional Shades EQ gloss processing formula. Okay. In my second one, I chose to use the gloss to gel Shades EQ processing solution for precision application. I used it because I'm going to be doing foils with the second formula. Now keep in mind, it's going to be a little thicker and it's going to give you a little bit more ease when you're applying foils. That's why this is an amazing tool. Root extensions, things like that. I need a little bit more time to blend that color in. And if I were to use, say, a little bit more of a liquidy formula, I would find that I'd be chasing my formula. If you're with me, if you've been there, drop me a Y. All right, cool. So for those of you who love your really precision applications, you might have a moment. And I just want to say, the way I apply this color on the first pass is meant to be not fully saturated. Okay, it's meant to be, because I'm going to go back with a second color and then I'm going to put this color back on everything and make sure everything is fully saturated. If you can't see this here, it might be because your chat bar is in the way, but I see that you can't see my formula. It's 3/4 10 VV and 1/4 violet kicker. So with that, how I typically apply the first step in this application is I take the tip of my color bottle and I go down in rows, following the head form and what we call in Redken vertical breakdown. So I'm literally tracing the root and the zone 1 throughout the whole head. Now check this out. We all know that this isn't going to be completely saturating every inch of the hair. And again, that is the plan. So now watch this. I'm going to take my hand and just rub that hair down just a little bit. Now in doing that, as you can see, it even kind of already is creating a tiny bit of a root extension. If you see it, type I see it. Okay, cool.
They see it.
So
it's good.
Y'all can see it. Oh, they can see it. Okay, cool. So after that, I'm literally just going to go through and apply and try to get this as consistent as possible, as quickly as possible. So if I was at the salon, you know, if somebody was, say, at the bowl and I was the type of person who tended to apply at the bowl, I would make sure they sat up. I would make sure that their hair was as dry as possible, because proper saturation is important, especially when it comes down to, like, if someone's hair isn't completely damp properly, isn't dry evenly, you're going to find that you have challenges with porosity and it may absorb spotty. Okay. So with that, you're really just kind of grabbing chunks of hair and applying it to your best ability, taking big sections. Guys, remember, we don't want it fully saturated. I'm not taking fine little sections for a really specific purpose, and we're going to discover that in a minute. So taking large sections, putting color on, and running our hand down through the ends. If you've maybe seen somebody apply color like this, usually, drop us a Y. Yeah, some of us, when we're behind the chair, we go really quick, and that's how we go. Here's the thing that I care about the most. I care about the timing, I care about the porosity, and my number one care is saturation at all times. So by the end of this technique, this will be fully saturated. If you promise you're going to saturate your toners, give us a Y.
Hey, Tara, people are asking, this is the lighter color, right, that you're putting on first, and you're putting it all the way through.
Yes, this is Formula 1, so this is the lightest color. Even though it looks dark, that's because of the kicker. The kicker tends to look quite dark in the bottle. Now, at this point, we don't want to really heavily manipulate the hair. with Shades EQ Gloss, but I take a super wide tooth comb and just try to get that hair more movable, because my next part of my technique is I'm going to be going through and grabbing foil sections, and I want to be sure the hair isn't too jumbly. So that's a very technical word there, jumbly. I'm just going through and doing a light combing. I don't want the Shades EQ Gloss to get foamy. If it's getting foamy, that means you've over manipulated it, okay? So keep that in mind. Jumbly, somebody typed in. Everybody's typing jumbly. Oh gosh. Well, that's my new nickname, everybody. So here you go. So because this technique is symmetrical, my goodness, because it's symmetrical, I'm going to be doing this only on the one side to show you, but keep in mind you would do the same thing on the opposite side. Now here's where it gets a little different. Now here you're going to take your darker color. Remember, this is our 4RV, our 04RV. Now on top of this, we have 10VV and Violet Kicker. Now I'm going to take that 4RV, 04RV, and I'm going to move her head so you can see her a little better. And then I'm going to apply it just about 1 inch to 2 inches right at her base, okay? Now, if you're doing this on your mannequins at home, you make sure you do both sides evenly. Then I'm gonna take a section about 1 inch. Everybody type in 1 inch. 1 inch from that original section. I will also be standing in front of my hair that I'm painting on, but I wanted to be sure you all could see. So now I'm taking my 4RV, and again, 04RV right there on zone 1. Now for this next section, you're going to go ahead and weave. And I tend to literally just do it with my color brush and do a chunky weave right on scalp, lift that hair, then take a foil. Take your foil, lift the hair, elevate it, place the hair directly on it, and then you're going to go ahead and paint your 04RV roots down towards the end of the foil. Now, Lori brought up a good point about, do your ends have friends? If they have very few ends, be mindful. Don't go all the way. There are times where I'll do every other foil on my way down. And if the person has a Mondo Colossus head of hair, I might go all the way to the bottom of each one. Just keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to take this foil, place it directly on top, elevate it, move it out of my very own way, and then I'm going to go back with the 04RV right at zone 1 or right at the scalp area and go slightly feathering downward, as you can see. Now I'm going to take another section. How far, everybody? How far? Type it in. 1 inch, you got it. So 1 inch from that section, elevate the hair. We are skipping this hair, right? Painting to zone 1. Painting that zone 1. And then I'm gonna go ahead and weave it again right on the scalp with my color brush. Lift the hair up. I'm gonna grab my foil. And because I'm only doing this on literally above the round of the head, guys, like, as you can see, I'm almost already done this section. If you can see it, say I see it. All right, awesome. Now, as I'm working this down, the bottom of my hair, I also want to be sure that if I am going all the way down, that everything's fully saturated and evenly. Sometimes when you apply color first and then go back with a toner or something on top of it, the hair will tend to stick together a little bit more. So if you find that that happens, like right here, I can't tell if this is saturated or not. I tend to grab the foil, I'll lift it and take my wide tooth comb and just rearrange. There's nothing wrong with giving it a little rearrange and making sure that I evenly apply down to the ends, okay? So you're gonna end up with all over the head likely 4 to 6 foils. Sometimes I find that I do 3 foils all the way down, like I'll take another inch on either side and end up with 6. But for the most part, it's literally 4 and sometimes 5 if the top of their head is really wide, if that makes sense. We've all seen it. We've all been there, I think. But with that, you go all the way, and you can even pick some of this hair in the back with 1 or 2 sections if you feel like you want to get a little bit more depth in the back. But it's that simple. We're applying one color, our Formula 1, 010VV and Violet Kicker. Then we go back with our Formula 2, paint at zone 1, skip an inch, weave some hair, and place in a few foils. Now, after you finish doing both of those steps, you're going to take your 010 VV and Violet Kicker, and you're going to go through and apply through all of the ends. Now, I see somebody saying, do you continue doing zone 1 all the way? Well, here's the thing. If somebody's natural base is below 7, let's say, and I'm only affecting the highlights, I don't always go all the way down because you really can't see it through their depth. Now, I do add a shine to it by adding the first formula. It might not show tone on their depth of hair, but it will add the shine. If you find that their hair is lighter than that at the base, it's very important that you go back and do the Formula 2 at their zone 1 throughout. So that's an amazing question. I find that when you're applying this, it goes by really quickly. And so somebody just asked, do you mix up a new Formula 1? I don't usually, because I mix up quite a bit in my first and go back and apply everything that's in this bottle throughout the whole head. Great question. Nice recipe, cooking up some heat. Yeah, we're cooking up some heat. I love that. All right, after picture of the mannequin. Yes, the video